My father told me 3 things before he died. The exact time he would pass, the song that would play as a sign, and the strangest signal a stranger could ever give me. Every single one came true. Before my father died, he told me 3 things. He told me the exact time he would take his last breath. He told me which song would play as a sign from him, even from thousands of miles away. And he told me to look for a man in a hat. I laughed all of it off. I thought it was the cancer talking. I thought it was just a grieving man's wishful thinking. I was wrong about all of it. My father, I'm going to call him R, in this video to honor his memory, passed away in December 2025 at just 58 years old. And what happened in the months after his death completely shattered everything I thought I knew about life, death, and what comes after. Stay with me for this one, because what I'm about to share is 100% true, and I don't expect everyone to believe it. But for anyone who has lost someone, I think you're going to feel this in your bones. To understand why these signs mean so much to me, you need to understand who R was. My dad was the kind of man who walked into a room and made everyone feel like they mattered. He was athletic, genuinely physically fit in a way most people half his age weren't. He was a successful businessman. He had energy, ambition, and this infectious laugh that I can still hear if I close my eyes. He was 58, and we all assumed he had decades ahead of him. Then one completely ordinary day, no warning, no build-up, he lost all feeling in his left arm and hand. Just like that. We thought it was a pinched nerve. We thought it was stress. We thought it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. He was diagnosed with brain cancer. And from that point forward, nothing was ever the same. The tumor progressed fast. He went from being this vibrant, unstoppable man to being paralyzed, wheelchair-bound, completely dependent on care. And I became his caregiver. Want to say this clearly. Being his caregiver was one of the greatest privileges of my life. To be there for him the way he had always been there for me. That is something I will treasure forever. But I also want to be honest. Watching your father's brain slowly disappear in front of you, watching the hallucinations, the confusion, the dementia, that is one of the hardest things a human being can experience. I held his hand through all of it, until the very end. Now here's where the story gets unexplainable. Before it passed, he started telling me things he wanted me to remember after he was gone. And at the time, I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't take them seriously. I thought it was the tumor. I thought it was confusion. I thought it was a dying man trying to hold on to something. But he was so specific, almost eerily specific. He said, if you ever pass a man wearing a beige hat, a cap, a flat cap, a fedora, any kind of beige hat, and that man looks you in the eye and lifts his hat to greet you, that will be me. That will be me saying hello. I smiled. I said, okay, Dad. And I moved on. He said, if you randomly hear Father and Son by Cat Stevens playing somewhere, that's me. That's your sign. Now, I need you to understand. I live in Hong Kong. Cat Stevens is not a staple of Hong Kong radio. The stations here are predominantly Chinese music. The chances of randomly hearing a 1970 British folk song on a Hong Kong taxi radio are, well, you tell me. And then he said, at my funeral, at exactly 5 p.m., I'll send you a sign. 5 p.m., the specific time he predicted he would die. And I remember thinking, how could he possibly know the time? He would take his last breath? That's not something you can predict. He took his last breath at exactly 5 p.m. My father predicted the exact minute of his own death. What happened next changed me, and it kept happening. In the months after our past, I started noticing something. I would be walking down the street, in Hong Kong, in cities I traveled to, completely random places, and I would see a man in a beige hat, and he would look me in the eye, and he would reach up and lift his hat, like a greeting, like something out of another era. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. People tip their hats sometimes. Sure, but here's what I need you to understand. Before I died, this had never happened to me. Not once in my life had a stranger lifted their hat to me on the street. Since his passing, it has happened multiple times. Beige caps, beige flat caps, beige cowboy hats, beige fedoras. Different men, different countries, different contexts, all looking me directly in the eyes, all lifting their hat. The first time it happened, I stopped walking. I just stood there on the pavement and I cried, because I heard his voice in my head as clear as anything. That's me. I'm saying hello. I was a skeptic my entire life. I don't say any of this lightly. Then the song started playing. In the most impossible places. Cat Stevens, Father and Son, 1970, Song about a father telling his son it's time to leave, to move on, to live his life, and the son who isn't ready to let go. If you've never listened to it, please do. Because when you hear it in the context of losing a parent, it will reach into your chest and squeeze. R and I used to listen to it together. It was our song, and he played it at his own funeral. After he passed, I started getting into taxis in Hong Kong, and the song would come on. Not once, not twice, up to 8 separate taxi rides over the past year. 8 times this song has randomly started playing on a radio that almost exclusively plays Chinese music, and every single time, I get the chills, goosebumps all over my body, even in 30-degree humidity. Even when it's hot and sticky and sweaty outside, my skin just rises. And here's the part one can't explain at all. My taxi drivers feel it too. Complete strangers. They'll turn to me, confused, rubbing their arms. And we just look at each other. Neither of us says much, but we both know something just happened in that car. One driver asked me if I was okay. I told him my father loved this song. He nodded slowly, and we drove the rest of the way in silence. 8 times, people. 8 taxis. 8 moments where the temperature seemed to drop, and a 50-year-old British folk song played on a Hong Kong radio station. Tell me that's a coincidence. And then came the funeral, and the moment that made everyone stop and stare at the sky. We held ours funeral a few weeks after his passing. A beautiful outdoor garden. I remember that day so clearly. Perfect blue sky. Warm sunshine, not a cloud anywhere. It was the kind of day that feels almost cruel when you're burying someone. Too beautiful, too peaceful for the grief sitting in your chest. The service was lovely. We celebrated him. We cried. We laughed at memories. We played father and son. And then, I checked the time. 4:58 p.m. 4:59 p.m. 5 p.m. It started pouring with rain. Not a drizzle. Not a light shower. Pouring. In a garden. Under a sky that had been completely cloudless all day. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone looked up. And in that moment, every single person there felt it. Nobody said anything. But we all felt the same thing. R had shown up to his own funeral. Exactly on time. I stood there in the rain and I laughed. Through my tears, I genuinely laughed. Because it was so him. So completely R. Even in death, on time, dramatic. And making sure everyone knew he was in the room. I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to convince you that the afterlife exists. I'm not here to debate religion, or science, or the paranormal. I'm not an expert in any of those things. What I am is a daughter who lost her father far too soon, and who found, in the most unexpected ways, small moments of peace in the grief. Whether these signs were truly are reaching through from the other side, or whether they were my mind finding comfort in coincidence, either way, they help me heal, and I think that matters. But here's what I keep coming back to. He told me. He told me all 3 signs before he died. He gave me the specifics, the hat, the song, the time. And all 3 happened exactly as he described. That's not me projecting meaning onto random events after the fact. He named them first. I think that's what makes this different. I think that's what I can't shake. If you're watching this and you've lost someone, I want you to hear this. Pay attention. Watch for the small things. The songs on the radio. The strangers who catch your eye. The rain on a cloudless day. The dreams that feel too real. Those might not be nothing. They might be everything. I was 58 years old. He was fit. He was vibrant. He was the kind of person who makes the world brighter. And the world is quieter without him. But he is not gone. I feel that more clearly than I feel almost anything else. He's in every beige hat. He's in every taxi radio. He's in the rain that came out of nowhere at 5 p.m. He is still, somehow, showing up for me. And I hope, wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, that the people you've loved and lost are showing up for you too. If you've had an experience like this, a sign you can't explain, a moment that made you stop and wonder, please share it in the comments below. I genuinely read every single one. You are not alone in this, and your experience is not crazy. If this video meant something to you, please share it with someone who is grieving. It costs nothing to pass along a little comfort. Subscribe if you're new here. And if you want to see more stories like this about grief, healing, and the strange, beautiful mysteries of being alive, hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. This one was for you, R. I hope you're watching. I love you.